Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Vijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Nandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitya Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gora Hari Bol, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jani Chalila Om Krishna Pad Paramahamsa Pariprachakacharya Master Shatashi Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jani Chalila Om Krishna Pad Paramahamsa Pariprachakacharya Master Shatashi Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopina Chama Kund Radha Kund Giriraj Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavan Mathura Dhama Ki Jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dhama Ki Jai, Shri Jagannath Puri Dhama Ki Jai, Ganga Maye Ki Jai, Yamuna Maye Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, Shri Harinama Sankirtan Yagna Ki Jai, Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai, Cow Protection Ki Jai, New Govardhana Farm Community Ki Jai. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Oh, glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chanda Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chanda Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Om Agnati Mirantasya Gananjaya Shavaka Chachurum Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha. So reading from Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, continuing the chapter, Madhya Lila, chapter 1, text 209. Please repeat. Done. Okay, so don't read this now. Okay. Dujane Prabhura Kripate Ki Bhakta Gane Hari Hari Bhale Sabe Anandita Mane Dujane Prabhura Kripate Ki Bhakta Gane Hari Hari Bale Sabe Anandita Mane Dujane Prabhura Kripa Deki Bhakta Gene Pujane unto the two persons, Prabhura of the Lord, Kripa, the mercy, Dekhi, seeing, Bhaktagani, all the devotees, Hari Hari, the holy name of the Lord, Ale, chant, Sabe, all, Anandita, cheerful, Mane, in the mind. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. When all the devotees saw the mercy of the Lord upon the two brothers, they were very glad in it, and they began to chant the holy name of the Lord, Hari Hari. When all the devotees saw the mercy of the Lord upon the two brothers, they were very glad in it. They began to chant the holy name of the Lord, Hari Hari. Purport. Srila Narottama Das Thakur says, Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nishtara Peche Keba. Unless one serves a Vaishnava, he cannot be delivered. The spiritual master initiates the disciple to deliver him. And if the disciple executes the order of the spiritual master and does not offend other Vaishnavas, his path is clear. Consequently, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu requested all the Vaishnavas present to show mercy toward the two brothers, Rupa and Sanatana, who had just been initiated by the Lord. When a Vaishnava sees that another Vaishnava is a recipient of the Lord's mercy, he becomes very happy. Vaishnavas are not envious. If a Vaishnava, by the mercy of the Lord, is empowered by him to distribute the Lord's holy name all over the world, other Vaishnavas become very joyful. That is, if they are truly Vaishnavas. One who is envious of the successful Vaishnava is certainly not a Vaishnava himself, but an ordinary mundane man. Envy and jealousy are manifested by mundane people, not by Vaishnavas. Why should a Vaishnava be envious of another Vaishnava who is successful in spreading the holy name of the Lord? An actual Vaishnava is very pleased to accept another Vaishnava who is bestowing the Lord's mercy. A mundane person in the dress of a Vaishnava should not be respected, but rejected. This is enjoined in the Shastras, upeksha. The word upeksha means neglect. One should neglect an envious person. A preacher's duty is to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, make friendships with Vaishnavas, show mercy to the innocent, and reject or neglect those who are envious or jealous. There are many jealous people in the dress of Vaishnavas in this Krishna consciousness movement, and they should be completely neglected. There is no need to serve a jealous person who is in the dress of a Vaishnava. When Narottama Das Thakur says, Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nishtara Peche Keba, he is indicating an actual Vaishnava, not an envious or jealous person in the dress of a Vaishnava. This is a very instructive purport, and one should be very self-introspective to see one's status or level of realizations in Krishna consciousness. And we should always check within our hearts whether we have these qualities of envy and jealousy, which is definitely an avaishnava, not a Vaishnava. So we cannot point on others. We have to be very, very careful. It requires honesty within ourselves before we can even see a jealous person. Because more or less in this material world, especially in this age, Kali Yuga, very, very much inflicted by these lower gunas, modes of nature, more of passion, more of ignorance, somewhat goodness. And if we neglect the correct chanting, if we offend the holy names, that eventually becomes an offense to the holy name and manifests in offenses to others, especially to devotees. One has to be very, very careful. And Srila Prabhupada gives a very clear reminder and instruction that one should be very careful not to be jealous over successful Vaishnava, especially the preachers of Krishna consciousness. The preachers of Krishna consciousness are very dear to the Lord. In spite of all external imperfections, flaws, we should go beyond the externals and see the good qualities of the devotees. And this is a saintly quality, to highlight the good qualities of a devotee. In a mode of goodness, one tends to see the good qualities of the Vaishnavas, regardless of the externals. Like I said, more or less, unless we come to the platform of Sudha Bhakti, pure devotion, unconditional, pure love for Krishna, until we chant the holy name, Sri Nam, without offenses, there's every chance of offending the Vaishnavas. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada mercifully and kindly set the morning program and the evening program such a way that we are conscious of these things. And I advise and I encourage the younger devotees to study the songbook attentively. If you can just meditate on these beautiful verses, especially Samsara Dhavanala, all these beautiful prayers, and the Guru Puja and the 10 offenses, we have to be very careful with these things. So we become conscious to avoid the offenses of the devotees. So I compiled a few notes based on my research in Srila Prabhupada's books and lectures, and also Jiva Goswami, just a few keynotes. I'd like to read them, which complements this purport. Although the purport speaks for itself, Srila Prabhupada made it very clear, one should not be jealous of a Vaishnava, any Vaishnava by the way, especially if someone's very successful spreading Krishna consciousness. And there are many Vaishnavas like that, even our present ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So we have to be very, very cautious. There's also remedial steps to overcome envy that requires an individual effort, uprooting these tendencies. By nature in the material world, this jealousy, enviousness is very prominent. We have these tendencies, and if we are very honest, we can see them and work on counteracting them, purifying them. The sadhana bhakti, especially attentive morning program, understanding these songs and prayers by the Acharyas, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. They constantly sing of the glories of the Vaishnavas and the Lord with utmost humility, so much humility. And as we sing the Shikshakshtaka every morning, we should give attention to every sloka, especially when it comes to humility, expressing our humility. Chinarapi sunichena. The translation, Prabhu? One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of majesty. So, ready to offer respect to others. One should be very, very tolerant, giving up all false prestige. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Without these basic fundamental understanding, we cannot chant properly. We have to chant with humility, with respect. And naturally, we respect the Vaishnavas, and you take it further, you respect all living entities. Because Krishna is in the heart, and the jivas are just covered over. We should feel compassion and love for all living entities. But the Vaishnavas, of course, stand out because they're becoming dear to Krishna by their devotional service, by the attentive chanting, calling out to Krishna, calling out the names of the Lord, the beautiful deities here, Archa Vigraha, and the holy vibration, the Shri Nam, the holy names of the Lord, so many beautiful prayers, Vedic hymns, constantly glorify the position, elevated position of Vaishnavas. A devotee is very special, regardless of the adhikari, because we're chanting the holy names of the Lord. Krishna is so kind to us. He's giving us that credit. He's calling us through the acharyas, through the Sri Parampara, the great Mahabhagavata acharyas, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So they're calling out to the jivas, Jiv Jago, please wake up, sleeping souls. In the material world, we're all in, metaphorically speaking, sleeping condition, ignorance. We've forgotten our loving relationship with the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the Shastras are reminding us that there is a constitutional, original constitutional position of the living entities. Hare Krishna. Nitya Swarupa. We're having a loving relationship with Krishna by attentive, regular attendance of classes, chanting of the holy names together, especially because extra purification, especially in chanting together, very, very important. Nevertheless, the chanting has to go on. Not just your 16 rounds, constantly remember Krishna. Chant the holy names whenever you can. Call out Krishna, Krishna. In a prayerful matter, because that way our heart softens and all this envy, filth get washed out. Because without pure heart, we cannot actually do proper devotional service. Nevertheless, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, the Panchatattva, Guru and Gauranga, they're so kind. They're not rejecting us because we are still sadhakas and we are not practicing properly. But they're urging us, please, do it correctly because the result will be faster. And Srila Prabhupada often said that an intelligent person does not want to take another birth in this material world, in these miserable conditions, from the highest planet to the lowest, from Brahmaloka to any of the planets. The repeated birth and death takes place. It's a places of misery. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, it's a places of misery. And we can see, we all have, at least to some extent, realizations that the material world is not our original home. We are constantly confronted with the dualities of the material world. Happiness and distress. Happiness and distress. Chanakya Pandit, who was a great scholar, an advisor to an emperor, as Srila Prabhupada often quoted Chanakya Pandit. He had a book of wisdom. He was expert in political affairs, in different happiness and distress follows one wherever he goes. No matter where we go, we can go to Brahmaloka, we can go to any of the planets, we're going to face the same realities: birth, disease, old age and death. We cannot hide this happiness and distress haunting us, even on the daily basis. Even every moment there is some discomfort, happiness and distress. The emotions, our minds constantly fluctuate between feeling good, feeling uncomfortable or distressed or whatever. So we can see we cannot avoid these dualities of life. So we have no other alternative than to take shelter of the process of bhakti, devotion to Krishna. And this is actually a sign of not only sincerity, but a sign of intelligence also. Because we, realizing by the mercy of the acharyas and the Vaishnavas, that we have an opportunity here. So let's take advantage of it. Let's take advantage of it, and that way we're purifying ourselves individually and collectively. We grow together. And when we progress gradually, this is when we can do great service to our spiritual masters, especially to the Mahabhagavata acharyas. Because when we follow the process, we get their blessings. Ultimately, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu gave the blessings to the Vaishnavas. So I'd just like to read this up. Referring to this paragraph in the purport, when a Vaishnava sees that another Vaishnava is a recipient of the Lord's mercy, he becomes very happy. The Vaishnavas are not envious. So when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu initiated Rupa and Sanatana, such a special recognition directly initiated by the Lord, and requested all the devotees, please give your blessings on them. So Srila Prabhupada says that all those devotees in the presence of Mahaprabhu, they felt jubilant, very joyful and happy to see these brothers getting such an attention from the Lord directly. An envious person would rather not accept that, would be just envious. Why are they getting the attention? Why are they getting the mercy? Why not me? So Srila Prabhupada reminding us that sometimes when you see your god brothers or very advanced devotees or even junior devotees doing so nice service, distributing books, accomplishing for the benefit of the society, pleasing the Lord, pleasing the Vaishnavas, we should be very joyful. We should feel happy and even grateful that we have such devotees amongst us. We should not be jealous of their progress. Rather, take inspiration. Wow. It's like you boys going out distributing books. I feel so much inspiration and joy to see you every day. distributing so many books. Amazing. It's Krishna's mercy. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu blessed New Govardhana, having these young boys going and girls going out almost every day and having book tables and meeting the public. How many books going out every day now? What a beautiful service. So we glorify the devotees. We feel very happy. We're not envious of them, oh, you're doing better than me. This jealousy is not belong to the spiritual atmosphere. It belongs to the material world, which is a root cause of our existence in the material world, envy. So as devotees, we should definitely eliminate envy. We should not allow envy. So Srila Prabhupada emphasizes, when a Vaishnava sees that another Vaishnava is recipient of the Lord's mercy, he becomes very happy. Vaishnavas are not envious. This is not just a moral lesson. It is a spiritual indicator. The lack of envy and the presence of spontaneous happiness upon seeing another spiritual advancement is a symptom of purity. Examples. When Prahlad Maharaj saw the demigods reigning their positions after Lord Nrsimhadev killed Hiranyakashipu, he felt no envy, only gratitude to the Lord. Despite being tortured, he held no resentment. So you can see the great, stalwart, saintly personalities, confidential associates of the Lord, exhibiting these saintly qualities of glorifying the devotees and no resentment. If a Vaishnava accidentally offends us, we should forgive. Forgiveness is very important in Vaishnava cultivation. We have to forgive. Because we accidentally offend one another, we have to forgive. And that can only be possible if you're very philosophical and understand the devotee's position, how fortunate and how great. We should feel grateful to be amongst the devotees, not to be complacent. Another example, when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur saw his disciple, Srila Prabhupada, distributing Krishna consciousness in the West, and as Prabhupada recalls, he was undoubtedly pleased. And Srila Prabhupada, in turn, was never envious when his own disciples became all empowered to preach. He encouraged and glorified them publicly. Often hear Srila Prabhupada lectures and classes and even morning walk conversations. When a devotee is accomplishing nice services, Prabhupada glorified them, encouraging them. He's such a great soul. So Prabhupada showing by his saintliness that we should see the good qualities of the devotees, regardless of the external flaws. On the other hand, the pitfall in the material world, when one takes it to the level of offending the Vaishnavas and envy the Vaishnavas. But sometimes we accidentally offend one another, just in the material world, so easy to offend. So that can be forgiven. But when someone is envious, we have to be very careful. Srila Prabhupada says, there are many jealous people in the dress of Vaishnavas in this Krishna consciousness movement, and they should be completely neglected. So Prabhupada makes a very clear statement here. But we can only see those persons if our heart is already pure. Then we can detect, oh, there's a person here who's envious. And why we have such people? Because, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that there are many different kinds of people come to take shelter of him. People after material ambitions, wealth. People come with material motives. or try to exploit or take advantage of it, not with the right mind. So there are some people like that, and of course we're coming from a very, at least myself, very fallen background, not very saintly. So we have these tendencies that, we often, maybe subtly, subconsciously envy another devotee. But again, with knowledge, with intelligence and wisdom, not to speak of purification, good sadhana, chanting nicely, we can overcome these lower qualities. We should. We shouldn't let control our emotions and minds, because then become a real offense. So we have to uproot these anarthas, these seeds of tendencies. We should not be envious. It's very bad. Even in the material world, no one likes envious people. No, who wants to be a friend of an envious person? No, I wouldn't be. You're looking for people who tend to see, who are giving us encouragement, not to speak of love, support, a circle of friends, family. There's no envy. We work for each other's benefit. And this is when happiness comes. When there's no envy, real happiness comes. This is when you can see how we progress in Krishna consciousness, when there's no more envy. And Prabhupada says also, the external dress, tilak, or even initiation, does not make one a Vaishnava. Character, humility, and the absence of envy are the criteria. Those who criticize others preaching success or undermine their devotional service out of jealousy are not to be honored as Vaishnavas, but rather neglected as per upeksha. So these are all warnings. And these are all warnings, not necessarily means that we have an envious person amongst us here, but Srila Prabhupada warns that there can be such persons, and we have to be alert, not to be influenced by the negative mindset or negative attitude. We have to be very careful. And sometimes you see, even amongst, not much in this community, but I've noticed in the past that devotees are all very critical of other devotees. Very easy to criticize the management, criticize devotees' difficulties, ridiculing. This gossiping, leads to offense. Srila Prabhupada didn't like devotees gossiping. I was reading that not only Prabhupada, but Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada also never liked this kind of gossiping. One time Srila Prabhupada overheard devotees, his disciples were gossiping about another devotee, and Prabhupada said, "Don't do this. It can destroy your devotional service, your kripa." See? Just like when you're planting vegetables, flowers, you have to be very careful with the weeds. So, because we are not so pure, these weeds also coming up. As we're chanting, we're watering the garden, obviously, the garden of the heart. And when these weeds are obnoxious, some are poisonous. So a good gardener is vigilant. He's watching every day, watering, nurturing the little plants. That's what we have to do. Constantly watch and monitor the garden of the heart. Take these things, uproot these anarthas. Then we can chant, at least without offense. And hoping and praying to the Lord, to the holy names, to gradually raise our consciousness to the point of love. Love, appreciation, and gratitude. Because we feel grateful. Our spiritual life is also based on gratitude. Grateful to our teachers, our spiritual master, the blessings and the divine instructions they're giving to us. We bow down to them. We bow down to our spiritual masters. and bow down to the Vaishnavas. Mancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhyaevacha. Every morning we call out for forgiveness. So let's be conscious of these prayers, not just recite them. These prayers to be understood and to be meditated upon. And Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, Ashuya, demonic quality, pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. These qualities belong to those of demonic nature. So these are the obvious impurities. And as we become devotees, a lot of these things are softened and minimized, but takes time to completely uproot. And every individual person has their karma guna. Some are more inflicted by the moral passion, ignorance. So we all have to individually work on our garden. Make sure that these low qualities are uprooted consciously. So, and that means very attentive sadhana. Chanting very, very carefully, prayerfully. We're not just mumbling the rounds. Clearly hear every syllable and call out to Krishna, please help me. And this is when the mercy comes. The holy name is very merciful, most merciful. But we have to stop offending the holy name. So usually the offenses come from offending the holy name. Once we offend the holy name, we offend the Vaishnavas. And the worst, when we offend the spiritual master. Mad elephant offense. Prabhupada brought this example of mad elephant. Like, especially in India, there are villages where sometimes a mad elephant come out of the jungle and destroys everything. Goes in the village. So we should not let that happen. We have to be very careful. Jiva Goswami says this, Bhakti Sandarbha 238, quote, offending a true Vaishnava is more dangerous than committing other ordinary sins, because the Lord identifies with his devotees. Offending them is like offending him directly. So, the purport highlights Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nishtara Peche Kiba. Without serving the Vaishnava, who can be delivered? So, this is a very nice reminder again, because we're discussing the tendencies due to our ignorance, karma guna in this material world. Even as sadhaka, sometimes these things can fructify, unfortunately. These tendencies to be offensive and envious. The most effective remedy, apart from the quality, attentive sadhana, is serving the Vaishnavas. So when one gets initiated, it's like a transfer of mercy. The parampara, divya jnana, transcendental knowledge manifest in our heart by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga. And the other instruction is, one must serve not only the Diksha Guru, who gives us divya jnana, but also the Vaishnava community, sadhu sangha. So we serve the devotees, serve one another with affection, because the devotees are very respectable, regardless of our humanly faults. Like I said, there is some special consideration when it comes to devotees, and that's what Krishna sees. Krishna is very particular, because the devotees are very dear to Krishna, even if they happen to be neophytes, because they're chanting the holy names and they're attempting to purify themselves. Krishna sees this. Krishna is so pure, he only sees the good. He knows everything, only sees the good. That's why we That's why we can still continue regardless and in spite of our disqualifications. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the spiritual master, the holy name, giving us encouragement within our heart. Just move on, go ahead, continue. So we feel that encouragement from Krishna. We feel that because the devotees also representing Krishna according to their capacity and purity. So we all not only keep the association of devotees, but we serve one another. When you serve the devotees, that envy gets gradually diminishing. Offenses against sincere devotees block the flow of mercy and Guru and Krishna. So we have to be very careful. So they all remind us, whether we understanding them exactly or not, we have to be very careful to practice Krishna consciousness attentively. Even after receiving mercy directly from Mahaprabhu, Rupa and Sanatan needed the blessings of the assembled Vaishnavas. Mahaprabhu ensured this by requesting devotees to show compassion and accept them lovingly. A Vaishnava mercy is a collective current. So we need, and we should request the mercy of the assembly of the Vaishnavas. We are depending on the mercy of the assembly Vaishnavas. So Srila Prabhupada, in a purport, Srimad Bhagavatam, preacher's duty is to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, make friendships with the Vaishnavas, and show mercy to the innocent, and reject or neglect those who are envious or jealous. It doesn't mean that we hate them, we just cannot have the association. If you see someone having that kind of problem, envy, jealousy, we should pray for them. We should call out to Krishna, please help them. We can't have the close association because they can have an effect on our minds, our emotions, and we also become offensive. If we associate with devotees who are overly critical and irrational in their judgment, and we can see it's envy. So we have to be very careful, those people, just to keep a little distance. So it's good to be conscious of these things, because that way we can remain on a pure path. No other influences. We should only allow Krishna conscious influence, not other influences. And of course, we know that the association of non-devotees are not favorable, not conducive. The same way, envious persons, even if they happen to present themselves as Vaishnava, sometimes happens. Kalichela, Bhaktivinoda Thakur also says, there are some people who may even dress as devotees, but they come here for material ambition. How to exploit, so we have to be careful. We keep distance from them, offer respect, and stay back. We should associate with devotees who are very serious in their sadhana, chanting, and service. That will giving us strength and focus. There's another thing I came across with in Srila Prabhupada's purports, just seeing other institutions, because now you can see even in Mogulambo we have different maps and institutions, how to deal with them, what to do, and how to, if we happen to come across with them. Srila Prabhupada advised the devotees in room conversations that we should remain respectful regardless of the differences in the institution, because ultimately they're all devotees of Krishna, chanting the holy names of Krishna, and that's their preference to go through that institution. But once we have taken shelter of Srila Prabhupada's institution, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, this is our family. This is our family. So we belong to our own. We stay in Prabhupada's family. But this is not to say that we criticizing the other monks because they do this, do that. It's not our business. We offer them respect. They are Vaishnavas chanting the holy names. The best not to mix it together because they're different. And there's a history behind also. What is authentic, what is not authentic. And so we should remain amongst the devotees of Srila Prabhupada family, Prabhupada's family. And we study his teachings, and we should take initiation within that line, Prabhupada's family. Prabhupada's this very beautiful, accomplished, advanced disciples who give initiations, so we can take shelter of those devotees. We don't need, no need to go other families. And Prabhupada was warning in the early days not to go there because you can get confused. If they happen to say something else, we may get confused. So the devotee should remain in ISKCON if you can. Stay with Srila Prabhupada. It's a very scientific process and no need to go anywhere else really. Remain in the service of Srila Prabhupada and his family of Vaishnavas. And we are very peaceful. I mean, I have friends in different mosques, even amongst the other sampradayas like Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, and very accomplished devotees, close friends actually. And I respect their way of life, I understand their authenticity, but I'm fully content under the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada's family. Because there's no need to go anywhere else. Just like amongst the Brijvasis, you go to, and if you happen to meet cultured Brijvasi families, they're very particular about the Gotras, family line, see? And anyone who joins ISKCON, they expect you to stay in ISKCON. They said, this is your Gotra now, Prabhupada. So we no need to go anywhere else. Be satisfied, be content, chant the holy names. All success is guaranteed. And when we do this, there's no room for envy. There's no room to be envious of one another. And sometimes you see that another devotee does much more service, much more results. We should not be envious. We should not be jealous. Rather, we should see how beautiful devotees they are, and let us take inspiration. And that's why the association of devotees are so good, because we can take not only encouragement but inspiration from one another. So we see how we're going there. So, is there any question, comments?
Thank you so much. I guess I was just wondering, as I've understood it, that the envy is rooted in the false self, the false ego, that has a tendency to try and put itself above others, to put people in categories, or put oneself in categories, or label things black and white, this sort of thing. And sometimes I find it hard to know the difference between judgment and discernment. Judgment being rooted with this flavor of envy, and discernment being rooted in one's intelligence. And because it can be so subtle. And I often wonder, how can we see within ourselves when it can be so subtle, when we're maybe skirting across the edge into that false self?
Yeah, very good, because it's a very subtle, exactly, very subtle. Like I said earlier, that one has to be very honest with oneself. We have to know where we're at And because it all comes from ignorance, unfortunately. And it comes in different layers of subtleties, and often we can't even see it. Just like when I go in a garden, I don't always see the weeds, but the seeds are already there, germinating. I don't see the weeds. But if I just leave it there, it'll come up, germinate. And so we have to be, it requires vigilance. In sadhaka, sadhana bhakti, we have to be vigilant, we have to watch these things. And if you're a bit confused, this is when you take shelter of advanced devotees that can help you to clarify this. But generally the criteria is that we see Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. What is correct, what is not correct. These are the guidelines. What the spiritual master says, what Srila Prabhupada says, what the Shastras and the scriptures, and what the advanced devotees, saintly personalities say. This should be the guiding line, the guiding force, basically. And then easy to detect those subtle, hidden envy and jealousy. And of course your sadhana, because when you chant, you'll see it very clearly. Ooh. But if you neglect your chanting, not attentive, and then the covering's coming back again, see. If you don't clean the window regularly, then what happens? So we have to cleanse the mirror of the heart. And every morning we sing Shikshakshtaka, cleansing the heart. One should cleanse the heart. And Sankirtan, see, this fire of Sankirtan must be very effective, cleansing the heart. So we have to, it's a very effective way of cleansing the heart. Preaching, Harinam, distributing books, speaking about Krishna, and then you can see, well, there's something there, I have to take it out, see. But it is very subtle, and we have to pray to Krishna to help us. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai, Shri Caitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.